have killed our women and our children, bombed our cities from afar like cowards, and you dare to call us terrorists?
Hey, what's up, world? That's right, 2 videos in 1 weekend, doing the impossible over here, but it must be done. Anyway, I'm back for a second video this weekend because I actually forgot to cover some articles that I thought were really important and that I think must be covered. So this first one, I want to start off with this one. I'm not going to start off with the Trump one, although I do have a Trump article or two here. But I want to start off with this one. Scientists find clues on why COVID vaccines cause chronic health problems in some. So last week, I covered this Yale study. I think a lot of people covered it. It's this Yale study that came out and claimed that these COVID vaccines are causing something called PVS, post-vaccine syndrome. Now, I had my issues with that study when it came out, but I didn't really get into it. I kind of just covered it in a positive way. Of course, the first issue that we should think about is that this study is from Yale. That's right. The same Yale that George Bush Jr. went to, or George W. Bush, whatever his name is. I'm not even sure if he's called Jr. or not. You know, the place where Skull and Bones is at. So anyway, another article came out, a follow-up article came out, and revealed just how deceptive this study was. And of course it should be deceptive, just like everything else in our scripted reality, scripted of course by those soulless demons, but it's of course a scripted study that has a certain angle. So the angle on this study, I'll just kind of like jump ahead. I'm going to read this article, but just kind of ruining the surprise. It's trying to make it, one, like it's rare, and you can see that with the title of saying that it's in some. And 2, it's trying to claim that it's actually not the vaccines. It's actually a problem in these individuals. So let's check this out. I'm going to read this article and you'll see exactly what I mean. So this article was published February 24th, 2025. So about like 5 or so days ago, 6 days ago. It's March 2nd, 2025. So let's read this. For a majority of people, the COVID vaccine doesn't cause adverse health effects. Bullshit! But a small percentage experience chronic symptoms that can last for months or even years. What is this small percentage? What is this small percentage? Can you give us an actual percentage? You guys don't know because your study wasn't big enough. You're just saying this to kind of downplay how severe this issue really is. So you just say small percentage. What is that? 10%, 15%, 2%, 0.004%. What is it exactly? Now, it's funny because it says chronic symptoms that can last for months or even years. How about the people that fucking die from it? Huh? How about that? How about the people that face fatal symptoms? They don't talk about that. Of course, they're not going to talk about that. They're just going to make it like, oh no, the symptoms, they're going to downplay the symptoms, as well as downplaying the veracity of those symptoms, like basically like how wide they are. So anyway, let's look at this. So Yale researchers recently made some discoveries. Why do they love this word some? Some in the title, some discoveries over here, about why certain people experience this condition, which they have dubbed post-vaccine syndrome. In early findings, the team recognized potential immunological patterns that are unique to people with PVS. Oh yeah, it's not the vaccine. It's immunological patterns for those people. It's unique to those people with PVS. The hope is that this discovery will help to enable future treatments and therapies for those who are affected. Yet it has nothing to do with the mRNA technology and how that mRNA technology can essentially change your own DNA of sorts, right? No, that's not happening at all. It's these people, it's those individuals, the small percentage. Please let us be as vague and ambiguous as possible. This work is still in its early stages, and we need to validate these findings, said co-senior study author Akiko Awasaki. Sterling professor of immunobiology at Yale School of Medicine in a press release. But this is giving us some hope that there may be something that we can use for diagnosis and treatment of PVS down the road. Symptoms of post-vaccine syndrome. Symptoms of post-vaccination syndrome. People with this condition may suffer from excessive fatigue, exercise intolerance, brain fog, insomnia, and dizziness. Oh, what mild symptoms. How about what I'm sure are the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who actually died from this? And I'm basing that off of the VAERS reports. A while ago, over a year ago, maybe even over 2 years ago, I actually looked at a VAERS report, and I looked at the VAERS data to show exactly why the fatalities or the deaths are being put into the VAERS data, and how they're only being put in from certain nursing homes and certain facilities, because there are people at those facilities, people at those nursing homes, whose job is to actually do those VAERS reports. However, there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people who died outside of those facilities who don't have people who have a responsibility to make those VAERS reports. So the VAERS data, the reason why only about 1% is actually even going to show up in that data, 1% of the actual cases of people dying or facing adverse reactions are going to show up on that data, the reason why only 1% is because of those unique circumstances that those people die that actually end up getting reported. Okay, so that's why only 1%. So when you look at that VAERS data and you're like, okay, well, you have thousands of deaths in that data in a certain time frame, in like less than a year time frame. If we say that's only 1% of the totality of cases, then we can say that, okay, we're going to have to multiply that many-fold. So many people have actually suffered from this that aren't being reported. These typically develop within a day or two of vaccination and can worsen over time. Yeah, there were VAERS reports of people dying in a day after the vaccine. And there's some brutal deaths that I reported on in that coverage when I actually looked at the VAERS data. People horrible deaths. I'm not even going to get into it. Go find the video of mine. I'm sure it's not too difficult to find. God forbid you got to do a little research of your own to find that stuff, right? So it's clear that some individuals are experiencing significant challenges after vaccination. Yeah, significant challenges like death. Yeah, but you're just going to cover these mediocre things. Oh, yeah, fatigue, brain fog, insomnia. Yeah. We're only going to focus on that. Our responsibility as scientists and clinicians is to listen to their experiences, rigorously investigate the underlying causes, and seek ways to help. Yeah, maybe that might be your job. Now you're saying that, right? But there are many people who claim that, yeah, when we say this, they're dismissed. So it seems like your responsibility as scientists and clinicians is to actually cover up for the people who are lining your pockets. And this is just another way that they're doing that. It's just they're doing that in a way that seems like they're not doing that. Okay, this is just another cover-up. It's just another layer of deception. This is with the co-author Harlan Crummels, professor of cardiology at YSM in the release, or whatever said in the release, right? Post-vaccine syndrome is real and has been found to occur from many vaccines, including COVID. Oh yeah, now this isn't even, it's not just COVID, guys. It's many vaccines it can happen from, because it's not the vaccine, it's the individual. Dr. Mark Siegel, clinical professor of medicine at NYU Langone Health and Fox News senior medical analyst, told Fox News Digital, yeah, this hospital, the people who work at this hospital, all scumbags. I got a hospital I got an NYU Langone hospital near me. Total scumbags. I had to get a surgery from a doctor there. He didn't like that I didn't have a vaccine, and he was like, "Oh, I saw many people die from COVID." And it's like, no, you saw many people die from COVID protocols, from being put on ventilators for weeks. When it's very well known that ventilators damage the lungs, especially if a person is having a chronic lung issue. Well, not even a chronic lung issue, but if they're suffering from lung damage or a lung disease or a lung sickness, you putting them on a ventilator for weeks is a death sentence. But yeah, they don't want to think about that. They don't want to talk about that. And if you don't know about that, go watch my video. It's titled Serial Ventilator Killers. Just type up serial ventilator killers Watch that video of mine. It's a short video. It's like 3.5 minutes long, and it's actually a song. It's a really awesome video. One of my favorite videos. Serial ventilator killers. They killed them with ventilators, and then they tried blaming COVID. No, that was your guys' medical malpractice. Anyway, let's move on. What the study found. The researchers analyzed blood samples from 42 study participants who experienced symptoms of PVS and 22 who did not. Those with symptoms were shown to have lower levels of two types of white blood cells. People with PVS who had never had COVID also had lower levels of antibodies against the SARS-CoV-2 spike protein, likely because they tended to have fewer vaccine doses. Check that shit out, right? That's what they're trying to extrapolate here. All right, yeah, these people with PVS who had never had COVID also had lower levels of antibodies against the SARS-CoV-2 spike protein, likely because they tended to have fewer vaccine doses. So your problem, you people with the PVS, at least this group of people, you just need some boosters. Yeah, just get in line, come in line and get your booster. That will fix you right up. Either fix you right up or actually finish you off. It's almost the same. They both start with F. Fix you up, finish you off. Ha! Who can tell the difference nowadays anyway, right? Anyway, let's move on. Fewer vaccine doses and no viral infection means the body's immune system has had little opportunity to develop a defense to the virus. What does that have to do with post-vaccine syndrome? What does having little defense against the virus have to do with these other things, right? No, just pump yourself up. Just inject yourself. Just get another jab in the arm, right? Maybe you should get a jab right in the face, if you know what I mean. Some of the people with PVS also had higher levels of the SARS-CoV-2 spike protein. Yeah, they had higher levels because maybe that mRNA vaccine caused a runaway effect that caused their body to then overproduce these spike proteins, which is something that I've read extensively about. It happens, which enables the virus to penetrate and infect host cells. This has also been linked to a higher risk of developing long COVID. Let me pause the video real quick, okay? Because there's something that I forgot to include here. I got to pull it up. Alrighty, so let's reread this, okay? Let's read this again. So, some people with PVS also have higher levels of spike proteins, which enables the virus to penetrate and infect host cells. Okay, so let's check this out, right? So, some of the people with PVS, post-vaccine syndrome, also had higher levels of SARS-CoV-2 spike protein, which enables the virus to penetrate and infect host cells. This has been linked to a higher risk of developing long COVID, the fake long COVID. Now, let's think about this. Could this be happening because the vaccines are ineffective? Let's look at Red Cross. This is Red Cross, the American Red Cross, answers to common questions about COVID-19 vaccines and blood, platelet, or plasma donation eligibility. I've covered this article or this page many, many times, and it looks like they reduced the information here yet again. But let's go down here. What is the difference between COVID-19 antibodies that you develop from exposure to the virus and antibodies you develop as a reaction to the vaccine? Antibodies that an individual produces when they've been exposed to the virus are slightly different from the antibodies that an individual produces when they've been vaccinated. When an individual has been infected with a virus, they produce antibodies to multiple regions of a virus, including the nucleocapsid protein, basically the core of the virus. An individual who has received a COVID-19 vaccine will produce antibodies to the spike protein of the virus, but not the nucleocapsid protein, which will only occur in the event of a COVID-19 infection. Basically, when you look up the science behind this nucleocapsid protein, they're saying these vaccines are actually not eliminating the virus. You're not producing antibodies to that core part of the virus to actually eliminate that virus, to actually eliminate it from your body. So of course, it'd be possible if you get these vaccines, you're going to still have higher levels of these spike proteins, because guess what? You actually haven't done anything to the core of the virus. You've just kind of mitigated its effect on your body by covering up those spike proteins. You're basically you're making it so that the virus still stays alive. It just can't have it's the same effect on your body. It's a little complicated. Who knows? Maybe I didn't explain it very well. Look into it. Okay, once again, this is answers to common questions about COVID-19 vaccines and blood platelet or plasma donation eligibility. Red Cross. You guys check that stuff out yourself. One of the most important pages, because this also right here, this was really important at the height of the pandemic, quote-unquote pandemic, because they were trying to claim that the natural antibodies that you developed as having the virus, it wasn't good enough. They were like, no, we want you to get the vaccine because it's just not good enough to have the natural infection, even though the natural infection is actually better than having the vaccine. Of course, not surprising in this age of deception that they would do something like that, right? So, where was I at? Okay, yeah, we don't know if the level of spike protein is causing the chronic symptoms because there were other participants with PVS who didn't have any measurable spike protein. But it could be one mechanism underlying this syndrome. I love it when scientists talk like this. It could be. It could be this. It could be that. Abraham could have hit me with a baseball bat. He should have hit you with a baseball bat. In addition to the elevated spike proteins, other factors could increase the risk of post-vaccine syndrome. Those include autoimmunity, tissue damage, and reactivation of Epstein-Barr virus, the researchers wrote. Yeah, so it's everything here. Everything else here can contribute to the post-vaccine syndrome except for the vaccines themselves, right? Jesus, this asshole is a world-renowned immunologist at Yale who has studied COVID and COVID vaccines extensively. Yeah, so extensively they still don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Can I talk to this person about the natural infection and the vaccines not actually addressing the nucleocapsid protein? They may also experience immune disruption, which takes the form of elevations in inflammatory immune cells, CD8 and TN-alpha, and a decrease in cells that help resolve inflammation and infection, CD4 helpers. Yeah, exactly. This is, they do experience this. These people do experience this. This is called VARS, the vaccine autoimmune disorder, right? VARS, or vaccine autoimmune response syndrome. Basically, AIDS given to you through a vaccine. The researchers agreed that more studies are essential to guide diagnosis and treatment. Yeah, they talked about this. This was that one scientist who was like, oh yeah, they have fewer of these what did he call them? They're non-specific antibodies. These non-specific antibodies that don't have a specific job, they can do like every kind of job. Yeah, there were fewer of them after the COVID vaccine, and then he tried claiming, oh no, I didn't say what I clearly said. Scumbags, all right? Every single one of them, they need to face some kind of consequences, all right? So anyway, let's move on to our next article. We're now going to be talking about Trump. Don't expect Trump to blink at Iran and companies. Iran and companies? Who is Iran and companies? Don't expect Trump. I've never seen an article titled this ridiculous. Don't expect to escalating provocations. All right, let's just read a little bit of this. As the first phase of the Israel-Hamas ceasefire ends, Iran and its pawns, who are its pawns, are escalating their offenses in a clear test not only of Jerusalem's will, but of Washington's. Okay, so they're talking about these bus bombs that occurred, right? This was an inside job. If you want somebody that actually has been covering Israel super in depth, this person is doing like an incredible job at this. A job that I can't even do at it because he's specializing in this shit. I would check out this guy. I follow him on BitChute. I don't know what other platforms he's on. But this guy, The Last American Vagabond. I don't know about his other work, but he's doing an awesome job at covering what's going on in Israel. He's got these videos that are fucking 3 to almost 6 hours long. This one in particular, Israeli false flag. Israel uses Bebus family to sabotage ceasefire. And then he also talks about Dodge and Elon Musk. But he's really been focusing a lot on Israel. I watched this video. I watched some of this video too. Very, very, very good reporting. If you want to know exactly what's going on there, if you want to cut through the deception, or if you want somebody that does cut through the deception in a really methodical way, this guy's doing it. The Last American Vagabond. Once again, I follow him on BitChute. I don't know what other platforms he's on. If you do follow him on BitChute, watch out because BitChute, I refer to it as BotChute because 98% of the things produced on BitChute are just fucking garbage. I mean, total effing garbage. Let's just look at trending, right? Gene Hackman was about to expose Epstein pedophile list. This is the kind of dumb shit that you see over here. Okay, it's just so ridiculous, okay? And then, of course, you got Alex Jones over here being a total lunatic. New boss in American Revolution. This guy thinks that Trump is actually doing something that's changing stuff. You got Nipples over here on this Michigan Hillbilly Girls Hammer Time. Yeah, BitChute, for the most part, is a cesspool. But there are some good things that happen over here. There are some good content creators. Anyway, let's move on to our next article. Now we know why. This is now just going to New York State corruption or New York City corruption in New York City. And it's just out of control. And this is exactly why we need a new system to uproot all of this corruption. And I'll be talking about that new system in my next video. I've actually taken a pretty big step in making this new system a reality. And I'm going to be talking about that in my next video, which hopefully I'll try to get out on like Tuesday. Monday's job and Tuesday's job. If I have all my shit together, if I like finish all the work that I have to do on Tuesday, I'm going to try to put out a video specifically on this new system and like the next step that I took in it. And I'm actually going to need a lot of feedback on it. I want to get some of your guys' feedback on this new system. But that will be a video that will be coming out on Tuesday. I'm going to try to get it out on Tuesday, I promise. So anyway, going back to this article in this video, right? So now we know why 311 complaints were ignored. New Yorkers put pieces together after Post reveals NYPD scandal. Okay, so essentially, I'll read this, right? So Inwood residents who say their quality of life complaints about rowdy bars and restaurants have been ignored think they finally have smoking gun evidence to crack the case. The Post exclusively reported last week that NYPD Commissioner Edward Cabbins' twin brother James allegedly used his relationship with the 34th Precinct commanding officer, this scumbag piece of shit that should be hung upside down by his feet, to stop 311 enforcement at businesses he represented, many of which are in Inwood. Okay, so let me just let you guys know. So in New York City, we have this thing, it's called 311. You can call 311 and basically make non-emergency complaints for double parked cars, noise complaints, and like basically quality of life complaints. If garbage doesn't get picked up, if like your garbage was supposed to be picked up that day, it didn't get picked up. If there's a business that is like doing something illegal, if there's like illegal construction, these non-emergency issues, you can call 311. But in this area, you had these 311 complaints being ignored because of NYPD corruption. You have this one guy who's like basically in charge of these bars or these restaurants, and I guess they probably get like a cut. I'm sure that they get some money under the table for this. Well, the same thing happens all over the place. In my neighborhood too, there's a bus stop across the street from a hospital, and it's constantly parked with hospital workers and other people, and when you call 311, they fucking do nothing about it because there's corruption there. It's like they can all park on the bus stop, and they can all park illegally, and it creates so much traffic there. I avoid that part like it's the plague. So much traffic there, and they get away with it. I mean, I wouldn't be able to get away with it. If I park on that bus stop, I'll probably get a ticket. If somebody else, a regular person, parks there, they'll get a ticket. But for these corrupt pieces of shit, they believe that they get extra rights and extra privileges. And this is just blatant corruption. It's not just happening in this neighborhood. It's happening in every single neighborhood in New York. There's a park in another neighborhood by me. The police are using a part of the park. They're using like a fenced-in field, like their own private club. They're making money off of it. It's insane what they're doing. It is insane the amount of corruption that is happening in New York on a local level just with the NYPD. Not even talking about politicians taking your tax money and using it where it shouldn't be used to fatten their own pockets. Not even just that. Just these NYPD officers, they're making a ton of money off of public places and off of things like this. Anyway, let's look at this. New York City paid out $206 million to settle NYPD misconduct claims last year. the most since 2018. And then this article tries to make it like, oh no, it's not just the NYPD. They tried making it like it was also prosecutors trying to get away with stuff, like, violating people's Fourth Amendment rights, violating people's, basically violating people's rights, searching them and seizing stuff without warrants and stuff like that. So they had to pay out $206 million. The city, New York City, pay out $206 million just to settle NYPD misconduct claims, okay? They're talking about waste, fraud, and abuse. How about that, right? You want to talk about waste, fraud, and abuse on a federal level? Why don't we talk about this waste, fraud, and abuse at a local level that is the product of corruption? I mean, it is everywhere. This is exactly why the only solution, it's not these patch jobs. The only solution is a brand new system that will uproot all of that corruption and then make it so that future corruption is impossible. Once again, I'll be talking about that on Tuesday. I have talked about it before, but I'm going to be going into great detail on my video on Tuesday because, like I said, I've taken quite a step forward in that process. Anyway, moving on. Long Island cop allegedly on mob payroll staged fake raid that didn't fool illicit gamblers. These are not real police. Okay, so you have this Long Island cop. This is now outside of the city. This is out in Long Island. This cop, he went and he tried doing a fake raid on another mob family's gambling operation. And it didn't fool that other mob person. And this is the scumbag right here. Anyway, moving on. This is the next thing. Car-hating New York City bureaucrats quietly making congestion worse with plan to cut vehicle lanes. So I think I've covered this in previous videos. I actually know for a fact I've covered this in previous videos. I showed a road over by me, how they made a nice wide road. They totally turned it down to this narrow two-lane traffic road, which creates all kinds of traffic. They put a stupid-ass bus stop there, these giant concrete islands. They're intentionally trying to make congestion worse. They're trying to push people out of what they claim a car culture. Okay, there's a couple people in the comment section that talk about it. But let's look at their proposed thing, right? So here we have it right here. So this is what exists now. And before, there was more lanes here, right? So we got a bike lane, then we got a buffer lane, then we have a parking lane, 8 feet parking lane. Then we have another parking lane over here. Now we have only 4 lanes. This used to be a 5-lane road. Instead of the bike lane here, it was basically shared with the road. Four lanes, now they want to make it down to 3 lanes. The solution for this is to sue their asses. This doesn't just create congestion for private individuals and cars. This creates longer ambulance wait times. Okay, believe it or not, we don't have flying fucking ambulances. The rich, yeah, they might be able to medevac themselves off of their fucking off of their helicopter pads on their rooftops, but the average person needs to take an ambulance ride. Now their ambulance has to contend with this traffic. The solution, if you're in an ambulance and your ambulance is dealing with traffic, sue the fucking city. Sue them because they know exactly what they're doing. They're intentionally creating congestion to try to control us. Anyway, I believe this is the last article that I have here. I'm sure that there's other stuff that could be reported on, but this is just simply the stuff that I forgot to report on in yesterday's video. Anyway, as always, stay happy, stay healthy. Don't let this insanity get to you. I know you can see that it gets to me sometimes during my videos. I try not to let it get to me outside of these videos. But really, do not let them mess you up, okay? That's what they want. That's what all of this is intended for, to cause you to lose your shit, to drop out. Don't do that. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay vigilant, and stay sharp.
When all this shit is over and done, I think you're gonna find yourself one smiling motherfucker.